Timothy McBride has published one book of poems, The Manageable Cold, with Tri-Quarterly Press at Northwestern University. He grew up in Rochester, New York, and now lives in Cary, North Carolina. He's won the Guy Owen Award from Southern Poetry Review, selected by Maurice Stanton, and the MacGuffin, selected by Carol Dennis. His poems have appeared in the American Poetry Review, the Styx, the Crab Orchard Review, and Shenandoah. Would you please welcome Timothy?
Thank you. Thank you for being here Saturday. I know there's a lot of other options you might have had than to sit and listen to poetry, so I appreciate it. I want to first thank Tom McCarthy for picking my poem. That's a special honor since I've admired his work for years, and since he picked my poem, I have a new appreciation for his critical acumen. So I'd like to thank Patrick Cotter for inviting me and managing this event with such aplomb. Like Wallace Stevens, he seems to possess both practical and administrative skills, and I'm going to see if I can buy some insurance from him. I'd also like to thank the poets that I've met here, and a friend of mine, Kelly Michaels, a fine poet who took the train here today to provide me with moral or immoral support. I'll take whatever I can get. Since I've been here, I keep thinking of a line from Howard Nemerov as I listen to the various poets, and that line is that the best poets show us that the world is hopeless and beautiful, giving equal weight to both words. Maybe in a humorous way, I saw a hopeless, beautiful sight in my hotel room just before I came here. I have about over 30 books that I've purchased, 30 beautiful books, and they're sitting hopelessly next to a very small suitcase. So I'm either going to have to jettison some clothes or just stay. So, the poet that Tom so kindly picked, I don't think it needs any context, so I'll just read it. The last Kodak moment. After losing 122,550 jobs, the Rochester, New York company, founded by George Eastman and marked by its ubiquitous yellow logo, filed for bankruptcy on September 3rd, 2013. Like most invasive species, those first digital cameras looked more or less benign, bulky, inept, confined to a small niche in the ecosystem, their quick, pixelated images, no threat to our messy chemistry of film and silver halide, the dark room's nuanced shades. Too late we noticed that our great yellow father was dying. Kodacolor, ectochrome, Kodachrome, our slides and negatives, gelatin and emulsions, was all immaterial now. It was data and algorithms, numeric codes, calculators affixed to a lens. It was dot patterns on a backlit screen, no scent of the developing bath, no risk of exposure to the invading light, no need to budget shots or pay for duplicates, the ammunition free and infinite. Instant results you could instantly retouch and circulate infinitely through the ether. For 100 years, we've been a fixture at every wedding, essential as the tree at Christmas, the cake at birthdays. A stay against disappearance, our work began to disappear. So we cleaned out our desks and lockers, trashed our badges, carried our lives home in cardboard boxes. We staked for sale signs in our front lawns, learned the word foreclosure. We murdered each other in record numbers. We watched the delis, gyms, and cafes we could no longer afford flounder like pilot fish around a rotting host. We tried not to think of George Eastman's "My work is done, why wait?" before he shot himself in the chest. But our work was done. When they tore down the first of more than 90 buildings along Lake Avenue, I waited, complicit, in a roped-off parking lot, to watch the orderly implosion, craning my neck as I aim to preserve a final keepsake of our lives, blasted to bits and stored on my telephone. If you're interested in watching that demolition, just Google Kodak implosion, and you'll see a lot of destruction. Since I'm on the subject of Rochester, thank you very much. Since I'm on the subject of Rochester, although I'm not trying to make these thematically related in any way, I have a poem called The Cosmology of Clouds. If Kepler had been born in Rochester, he might have gone unknown. You can look. My father took the photograph for the cover of my book, A Manageable Cold. You probably can't see it, but the sky is gray all the time. And you're not working on the Seneca Indians did not work out an Incan calendar of star movements and so on. And so this poem is called A Cosmology of Clouds. It has a head note from one of my favorite poets. I don't know if anyone reads him much anymore. He taught at a university where I attended, Anthony Hecht. He writes, he taught in Rochester, so he wrote, "Under our igloo skies, the frozen mind holds to one truth. It is gray and called Rochester." You'll soon forget the constellations, Orion, Perseus, all those night lights for children. You won't last long here if you need to draw gods and heroes on your bedroom walls. You'll miss the moon at first. 9 nights in 10 it won't be visible. And you'll lose track of Venus and Mars. No more delays hoping some occult alignment, Mercury ascendant, Jupiter in retrograde, will finally make you brave enough to act or wise enough to choose without regret. Nor will you speak of heavens or expect the pole star's steady glow to tell you where you are and what you're headed for. At sunset, there's not much to wish upon if what you wish for needs a diamond surety and not this rock salt overcast, our mezzotint of weathered grays. Taxonomy can be a comfort, stratus, cirrus, cumulus, if you're the sort who thinks naming things means knowing them. Later you can add smokestacks, car fumes, your own ghostly exhalations on winter mornings, the contrails of sullen afternoons. After that, electron and computer clouds, the mushroom shroud over Hiroshima, the cascades, Peleus, altocumulus, Bernini carved for St. Teresa's ecstasy, those flocks of migratory birds and butterflies that blake apart and realign, instant by instant, scrawls and rapids never twice the same, ripsaw currents, convections, all the not quite almost recognizable shapes that seem to form from nothing and into nothing disappear. The next poem, Cademan used to make a magnificent set of vinyl LPs. It was like 30, 40 years ago. And they had them in the public library in Rochester, and I thought about stealing them, but I recorded them on cassettes, which I still have, so that means I still own a cassette player, and I've had to repair them a number of times. But anyway, I can't find them, they're really magnificent. I can't find them anywhere, online. I don't know why someone wouldn't keep them going. At any rate, one thing I notice is that when you play a cassette hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of times over and over again, the tape starts to wear out. And at times you can hear an undercurrent of side B while you're playing side A. One of the cassettes I made really without thinking was called Plath. I put Sylvia Plath on one side. I put Ted Hughes on the other. So this is cassette, Plath, Hughes. I taped them back together like a torn photograph, a double exposure, a stripping bare. You can feel the scar, a braid of razor wire, the thorn in her voice, his acid burr. I take them back to back like hostages or prisoners of war, nothing between them anymore, that close, that far. Just this sheer strip of plastic film, their voices etched in magnetic iron ore and loaded onto spools of motor threads between capstone and roller, precarious, primitive as torture. I gave them separate sides, like duelists or angry lovers turned away in bed. I let the tape heads wear. As one goes forward, you can hear the other hauled backward through the gears, the undercurrent always there, the blur of one voice into the other, his jaguar dragging Lady Lazarus over the caged floor, her risen woman sneering back. She swallows him like air. I'll take now a poem from the book I mentioned. This is a poem that I published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and usually when I tell people I've published in JAMA, I don't mention that it was a poem. I let them imagine that I'm a brilliant medical mind, an illusion that doesn't usually hold up very long unless I leave the room. But one of the things, you don't need to know much about this. Two things you need to know. I don't know how it is here, but in the United States, when you give blood, they give you an asinine little pin afterwards, and it says, "Be nice, I gave blood today," which makes me not want to give blood, and I have to wear them. The other thing is that you can give blood, and at the last second, anonymously, check a box. Nobody knows what you're checking, and it says not to use the blood. The scholarly article that my poem appeared beside was on the HIV virus. So you could imagine someone going in, maybe they were pressured by other people, and they're going to give blood, and then they don't want to, they don't want anyone to use it, obviously. I also thought maybe what would be the mindset of someone who went in and just decided they were going to make this blood sacrifice purely for symbolic purposes. I don't know that that's possible or not, but at any rate, don't use my blood. The confidential self-exclusion sticker lets the donor indicate anonymously that his, her, their blood should not be used for transfusion if he, she, they are donating under peer pressure or other strained circumstances. The American Red Cross. Don't trust my smile. No matter how I gush at you from the tilted chair, letting blood run into your plastic bag, my heart is sick. My pint is venomous. Don't trust my words. I lied to every question on your form. I have given money in exchange for sex with men and women, not even once, but many times. I've been unprotected in love, in despair, in loneliness, in New York and Miami, in Java and in Niamey, Niger. I lived through those connections. That's why I come to you. Don't trust my eyes. Though I look away from the quick stab into the swabbed and swollen main line of my tied-off radial vein, I'm not afraid. I share ungodly needles all the time. Like yours, they make me feel giddy and generous, lightheaded and brave. Unpunctured night turns rank and malarial. Rats have bitten me. Such things leave their mark. Don't use my blood. I offer it for nothing, a sacrament unfit for you to touch. Tape your red cross in the hinge of my arm. Take the scarlet button, pin it on my chest. Change, be nice, I gave blood today. Right, love me, I have drained my heart. is a little bit different, although since there's blood involved, maybe I'll read this. Most of the poems I've read so far are not formal at all. I write in form a lot. I picked a sonnet. I'm not really sure why I picked this one, but it's about Cannonball Adderley. Some of you may know the saxophone player who I admire. There's a note in downbeat that I can just summarize. Cannonball Adderley was called Cannibal as a child because of his size and the enormous quantities he ate. Cannonball matched his style, propellant, hard bop, non-stop fusillades of gunstones launched from his alto and soprano saxophones as if the bandstand were a battlement where he would stake his life each night to play spontaneous combustion for an hour with the measured fury of a bombardier, as if he meant to blow the crowd away. But Cannibal is better, a conceit to match his elemental appetite for tearing out our hearts, the bleeding meat devoured as in a sacred rite, restored to us, transformed and complete. This is my body, given up. Take it, eat. I've really been admiring this guy. I think he's called Strange Beast. All week I've been looking at him and puzzling at him, and so I thought I have a Strange Beast poem, and I thought I'd read that. He looks friendly. Mine is a bit more sinister. It's called An Urban Myth. I'm always interested in, although the stories in urban myths are, only for the credulous, there's usually something haunting under them, a genuine fear. And I think the genuine fear here will be obvious. An urban myth. On vacation, a woman finds a dog. No tags, unwashed, mangy, a mutt. Funny looking too, his tail broken, his shoulders rounded, his eyes quick and close together under oily fur. Timid at first, he eats from a dish, starts to hang around, licks her hand. Back home, she keeps him indoors, but he's slow to learn, doesn't fetch or speak or walk on a leash. But when she shakes the box of food, he comes, awkward, low to the ground. One night, home late from work, she finds the cat in pieces, the dog asleep on the linoleum, blood on his muzzle. The vet's grimace quickens his voice. That thing is no pet. In Brazil, there are luparatas, wolf rats. They come in ships, live on dockyards, scavengers. They eat fish heads and garbage. It's put to sleep and burned. Years pass. No change quite rids her of it. No friend. At each new place, she thinks of how it moved against her night, unjungled, restless, angling through the dark. Thinks too how easily she was fooled, choosing a name, taking its need for her own, misunderstanding. He doesn't look like he would be such a bad guy. Let's see. I've always been interested in the mutiny on the Bounty story. I like all the movies. I've read a book by Caroline Alexander about it. But one thing that it's always occurred to me is the much that's made of Fletcher Christian and the mutineers. They're turning their back on everything. This is a decision you can't unmake. But no one ever mentions the women from Tahiti who, when the ship shows up, have about an hour to say, you're coming with us or you're not coming with us. And that sacrifice and that risk and the regrets that might attend to that risk seem to me every bit as interesting as those the Englishmen go through. So this is called The Bounty Women. From Tahiti's, quote, discovery to the Bounty Mutiny, is a headnote. The island girl has been a seductive icon, one often neglected or suppressed in the historical record. And that's from Mark Sturma, Western Fantasy and Sexual Politics in the South Pacific. How little we think of them, bare-breasted cargo, grass skirts on agitating hips, exotic fauna from the torrid zone, dazzling but indistinct, a squall of parakeets, neon fish and swollen nets. No sense, no sensibility, no names we remember. No ear for the sea's melancholy long withdrawing roar. Less noble than nubile savages, skin rinsed in ginger and coconut milk, crowns of hibiscus, riptide eyes, scent of gardenias and sea foam, a shark-toothed space of light between their thighs. No legend marks their mutiny, the night they join the sailors, no time for farewells, Tahiti soon as distant as the Thames. No film to plumb their quandary, go or stay, love or loyalty. No book eyes Christian's lover when she learns he's gone or dead. Her 40 years of doubt, burning palm fronds, burying their daughters, outliving all the men. No Gauguin shows her circling Pitcairn's tide line in the rain, 1,000 miles from anywhere, eyeing the scuttled ship and wondering how the aimless waves can break on every shore. I don't know if I have any time left. Should I stop?
I think we're getting, we're just about there now.
Okay, I'll read one more quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a sort of strange love poem. I offered to dedicate it to someone and they said no thanks. It was the poem or me. I don't know which I would prefer. Anyway, it's called On the Origin of Wings, and there's a quotation from Science, the journal Science. The feathered wing may have evolved in dinosaurs not for locomotion or prey capture, but for courtship display. Forget the angels, the susurrus and cherubim and seraphim. Forget the angels, the susurrus of cherubim and seraphim. Forget Hermes, Nike, the phoenix and its ash. Start instead with some ungainly earthbound dinosaur, waving his scrawny, sparsely feathered arms in sexual display. Think pom-poms, fan dance, teenage boys puffing up their chests. Think of me, lizard-skinned, taloned, desperate with want, oblivious of lift and yaw, trudging across a wordless jungle floor, flapping my ratty plumes, intent on luring you near, coaxing your curved pelvis to the ground, hoping you'll part your legs. Watch me, startled suitor, tripling the tempo of my gravid semaphore, rising through the air. Thank you very much.